Hey, what's going on, everybody? JB the Ranch Mechanic here. It's another beautiful, sunny, cloudless Nevada day. It's about 90 degrees, or it was earlier. And today is truck day. Got my 2018 Silverado sitting behind us here, and got like 51,000 miles on this thing now. We've driven it all over the country on vacations and whatnot. Surprisingly, for a crew cab pickup, it's a very, very good family vacation vehicle. So, who'd have thunk? But anyway, what we're going to be doing today is installing an aFe Momentum GT air intake on this thing. Flip the camera around, kind of show you the truck, show you why I'm going with this intake, that we're going to install it, go through, talk about it real quick. We're going to do a before and after comparison, and hopefully that will provide you guys with some information if you decide to go with something like this for your own truck. So let me spin around here and we'll get talking about why we're doing this. And this is our 2018 Silverado. And, you know, just to get this out there, there's going to be a lot of people that are either going to say on here or who are of the opinion that aftermarket intakes are a gimmick, they're a hoax, they're, you know, a waste of money, blah, blah, blah. I apologize about the shadows here. Nothing I can do about that. Well, there's basically two reasons that I'm installing this. One, the factory intake, no matter what you might think, is restrictive. You can free up, you know, between 10 and 15 horsepower with this thing just doing the intake. If you get a tune to go along with it, you'll free up a little bit more. But the biggest reason that I'm doing this is because this factory intake here, as you can see, or maybe you can't see, I'm not sure, but down there, we're missing a fastener. And I believe it's either this one or this one in the back. One of those is completely stripped. Now, we brought this truck as a dealer demo with about 5,200 miles on it a couple of years ago, and it now has 51,000 on it. So we have put the majority of the miles on this thing. But the majority of the oil changes were actually done by the dealership we bought it from as part of the package. I've only done one oil change on this thing. I'm running AMSOIL in it now, but the dealership is responsible for doing all the rest of the service on this. So, you know, I don't want to call them out for you know, discarding that screw and then stripping the other one out, but it is a rather poor design from GM. I mean, there's no metal inserts in here. So it's a steel screw screwing into a plastic airbox. So obviously out here, you can see everything is covered with dust. The box that the aFe intake came in is covered in this silt. This gets into everything. And being that we have a compromised airbox here, I'd rather go with something aftermarket rather than spending the, you know, $200+ to get a new airbox from GM Parts Direct. I just think that if I'm going to spend that kind of money on a new airbox, I might as well get something aftermarket and free up a little horsepower. There's a lot of people that say, well, you know, if they wanted to engineer it differently, the GM engineers would, you know, make it that way from the factory. Okay. The unfortunate part of mass producing anything is that you need to appeal to the widest audience possible. So the trade-off with getting rid of all of this ridiculousness, this is baffles and sound resonators and sound deadeners and all that stuff. It makes the intake quiet, but it also robs you of power. You put an aftermarket intake on, you're going to free that power back up, but you're also going to increase your noise. GM's not going to put a noisy intake on a truck. People will complain about the noise. Not everybody's a performance enthusiast, you know? So that's the reason that I'm doing this. A, to get a good airbox back, you know, back in here again. And B, so that I can free up a little bit of power. So, yeah, I'm okay with that trade-off. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing installed real quick. Again, I went with the aFe Momentum GT intake. The reason I went with that one is because the person that I use for all of my tuning needs, it's Justin Gadberry over at Black Bear Performance. They actually did a comparison of pretty much all the available intakes. I think there was like 8 or 9 of them. This is back in 2015, I think they did this. And the aFe Momentum GT intake came out as one of the top performers that you could install without requiring a tune. Now, eventually I will be getting a tune for this to go along with the intake. I already have an EFI Live AutoCal that one of his tunes is on for my Tahoe. So I'm going to buy the VIN license and do some data logging with that and have him do a tune on this truck eventually, not right away. But I just kind of want to see what the performance difference is and the sound difference is going from the stock intake to the Momentum GT. So again, I'm going to go ahead and rip this out real quick. It's very simple. Just got to undo some worm clamps. You got to take out your mass airflow sensor and swap that over. And then the whole airbox is just held in with rubber grommets. So once you get the tube taken off here, this just pops out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. If you really want to know how to install this, there's tons of videos on YouTube already. That's why I'm not going to bother with it. But yeah, I'll get this thrown on real quick and we'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. As you can see, everything is cleaned up and much more simplified in the engine bay here. All these resonator boxes and everything are gone now. aFe does include 2 new hoses to hook up to your valve cover vents. And yeah, everything looks really good. And the thing that I like about this the most is that there's this little window in here. You can check your filter at a glance. Excuse me. The aFe kit includes all these really nice Murray stainless steel, like heavy duty style worm clamps. They're not actually worm clamps, they're actually proper round clamps with lock nuts on them, which is really nice. That stuff's not going to loosen up anymore. So I'm going to fire this thing up, let it idle for a little bit so the computer can kind of relearn some of the fuel trims and the incoming air and all that. And then we're going to go do a comparison. So stand by. All right, guys, so we're going to do a quick test run here with the stock intake just to see kind of how it feels and how it sounds. I do have 4-wheel drive engaged because we have only dirt roads out here unless I want to drive 20 miles down to the highway, and I don't feel like doing that. So we were in 4-wheel drive. It is a hot day. It's about 83 degrees out right now, and it's about 6 p.m. It got up into the mid-90s today, so the ground is still very hot from the direct sunlight. So even though the temp says 83, it's probably warmer than that. This truck isn't a rocket ship anyway, but I just kind of want to get a feel for how it how it accelerates and how it sounds with the stock intake. So this is a 2018 Silverado with about 51,000 miles on it. We'll go ahead and put the windows down, even though we're gonna get a bunch of dust in the truck. But here we go. And there's about 60. So, not too shabby. Again, this is it's not a rocket ship, but it is pretty quick for what it is. And we are at about 5,400 feet of elevation. So it does need all the help it can get as far as low end power. So we're gonna go back, throw on the aFe, and see what we get. Okay, guys, here we are. We're back again here, this time with the aFe Momentum GT intake installed. And this is the 5-layer oiled filter. This is not the dry filter. I wanted the oil out here because of all the dust. Anyway, we're going to be in 4-wheel drive again. It's about an hour later, but we're still floating about 82 degrees, so no real significant difference there. So we've let this thing run for about 5 minutes just to kind of let the computer learn the new airflow. No check engine lights or anything have come on. So it's playing nicely with the computer. We're just gonna let her rip here in 4-wheel drive and just kind of see what we can hear and what we can feel. So here we go. Yeah. Well, the butt dyno definitely likes that. I mean, again, this is not a super fast truck to begin with, but that sounds good. It's a fully sealed airbox design, so that's going to do really well filtering out all this crap. I mean, you can see in the mirror behind me, I mean, even I've slowed down now and it's just a James Bond level smoke screen. All this super fine sandy dust. So I like that. We'll have to give it some time, and then we'll have to get a tune. Alright guys, it's been about a week since we installed the intake. I'm actually in town right now, about ready to head back to my house. It's Sunday afternoon. I just had a quick meeting at church I had to deal with, so I'm on my way home now. Initial impressions of the intake are very positive for me. I really like the way this thing sounds and performs. It's really woken the truck up. My wife is complaining about the noise. She does not like the noise level. It drones just a little bit at certain frequencies on the highway. But I just wanted to do a little bit of driving in town on a paved surface so the dirt and dust and stuff isn't kind of throwing off the noise. I know I already did a comparison earlier in the video, but this is going to be street driving. And I just wanted to kind of show you how it sounds when you're just driving around in the street under normal acceleration, moderate acceleration, then I'm going to get on the highway to head home. So it is a very hot day. It says 95. It was 98 a second ago, so I think now that I'm moving, the temperature is dropping a little bit. That could go back up, but we're just going to drive, get back on the highway here in a couple minutes, and you'll hear it a little bit more. But this is with the windows up, and it definitely growls quite a bit more, and it definitely has quite a bit more grunt in the low end. It doesn't seem like the engine takes nearly as long to get moving. So I'm very happy with it. So I'm going to shut up now and just we'll listen to the intake for a bit. Okay, so I got stuck behind some slow traffic. We're gonna give it a little bit of juice here. Okay, good. That's the car in front of us is the slow one that was holding me up. So now we can get on the highway here and really open her up. So yeah, I think it sounds great. It does drone just a touch in certain, like I said, certain resonant frequencies at certain speeds. I don't know what those are exactly yet because I'm paying attention to the road and not really looking at the speedometer when it happens. But for the most part, I think it sounds incredible. The engine is definitely a little bit more peppy. No real information as to effects on gas mileage yet. That's all still to be determined. We've only taken a couple of trips with this thing. We haven't driven it very much because, again, we live in the middle of nowhere. I'm leaving town right now to go home, and I've got a 45-minute drive in front of me before I even make it back to the ranch. So yeah, we've only gone into town, I think, once since I've installed it. So really not enough baseline data yet to, you know, tell you anything about gas mileage or anything like that. All I can say is that the initial impressions of driving with this thing, I love it. I think it sounds fantastic. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. It's expensive. It's not a cheap intake, but it is one of the better performing ones, and it does not require a tune, although getting a tune will maximize your gains. So anyway, if I have any issues, I'll make another video, but for now I think it's a good setup. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment, let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.